Hi, this is Josh from Federal Signal Tech Support, and right now we're going to set up a Rumbler Enable button. So let's say you have a siren tone active, and with the press of a button, you can activate a Rumbler tone underneath whatever siren tone that is currently sounding. And we could also make it so if you go to a different tone on a different button, it'll transition over seamlessly. So that is what we're gonna do right now. So first things first, this is a customer's file that I worked on. So if we first click edit hardware, go to your amplifier, and for your speaker 2, I would just make sure you have a Rumbler enabled. Now, if you have the solo or the compact Rumbler speakers, the newer ones, not the legacy, you would select either of these two, which would be fine. And then if you have a PF400 or 400Q, you have speakers 3 and 4, so you could, depending on what channel that Rumbler's on, is where you would set it. So once that is done, go ahead and click continue. And now let's set up our tones. So if you haven't already, I would just go ahead and go to each tone here and just make sure for channel 2 or whatever channel your Rumbler is on, just make sure you have a rumbled tone active. They're all usually located under rumbled tones of that variant. So you got your rumbled SSP tones, rumbled unitrol tones, etc. But it's best practice to have the one that's matching channel 1. So in this case, it would be SSP wheel and then SSP wheel Rumbler. So we need to go to each of these tone buttons and just set them for the rumble tone on each of them. Like so. So once all that is done, we need to create our Rumbler button, which is pretty straightforward. So just make sure it is set as a push on off and nothing more. And we'll get back to this button in a second. Now we need to create our virtuals. We're going to start with the Rumbler mute virtual, which will mute channel 2 or your Rumbler tone whenever that button is not active. So just go ahead and create a virtual, doesn't matter which one, and just go to your button properties on the top right, and then I would just rename it Rumbler mute like I did here, and then have it activate on startup. So that has to be checked and that it's set as momentary. And then under your button dependencies, have a dependency for this Rumbler button. Rumbler is off. So basically you're telling it that, hey, it'll mute the Rumbler tones when the Pathfinder turns on, as long as that Rumbler button is off. So that's exactly what we did here, per se. So after that is done, actually, oh yeah, and just make sure for channel 2, tone off is active on the Rumbler mute virtual. And now, once that is set, we create our Rumbler virtual. So you can set it up however way you want, but I have it set up as a step. So we need to go to our properties on the top right, gear icon with the arrow. I would just make sure that it is set as a step. So I have it set as a 3-step, and then auto advance. This is very important. I have it auto advancing however long the Rumbler tone is being played. So if it's 8 seconds for your Rumbler tone, I would just put 8 seconds here. If you have 60 seconds, I would do 60. But in this example, in this customer's file, we're doing 22 seconds. So 3-step, 22 seconds, and just rename it Rumbler Virtual. And no dependencies. Fine there. Let's close that out. And now let's go to our steps. So we're currently on step 1. So for step 1, have channel 2 tone mute off, which is under the mute category. So just have tone mute off, or whatever channel Rumbler channel is on is where you would have the tone mute, or tone mute off, I should say. Then we go to step 2. We'll simply have tone off. So for channel 2, have tone off, not tone mute off, tone off. So basically after that auto advance timer, it'll pretty much mute the Rumbler tone again after that 22 seconds or however long the Rumbler tone is playing. So, and then after that point, you can just reset the timer by just turning off the Rumbler button and going again. And then step off, there's nothing set there, so we're good there. All right, next step, we go back to our Rumbler button and then go to the remote activation tab. And then basically for our Rumbler virtual, not a Rumbler mute virtual, our Rumbler virtual, we have it remotely activate so it moves to step 1. And then for the off position here, it should turn blue. Just have the Rumbler virtual toggling off. All right. And now, last step here is if we go to system on the top and then priority settings. Of course, always make sure ignition is in the #1 spot. And in this example, we're not using the air horn and manual for the Rumbler virtual, so that's why I have it above the Rumbler virtuals, all the Rumbler inputs. So in order we need to have it, we need to have Rumbler mute first on the list, then Rumbler virtual, and then the Rumbler button. It would have to be in this order or else it will not work properly. And with all that being done, just go and close that out, and then just click device on the top, and then program device to dump the updated configuration into the amplifier. And that is all there is to it. And you could pretty much do it on any keypad you want. I'm just doing it on the 17 button in this example, but you could do it on the rotary, like the PF200 or PF200R rotary. It would have to be set different, but the concept's the same. So, but yeah, that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, feel free to call our tech support line at 1-800-433-9132, option 1. Or alternatively, you could send an email to us at fstechsupport@fedsig.com. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.